Entering a nightclub begins with an immediate cash extraction, $30 or $40 just to cross a velvet rope and stand in a dark room. From that point on, every interaction, getting a drink or skipping the line, carries a high margin price tag. This diagram shows the math behind the table. A standard bottle of vodka costs the venue $30 wholesale. By attaching a sparkler and walking it to a VIP section, the club sells that same bottle for over $1,000. These margins make nightclub ownership appear to be one of the easiest ways to build a fortune in the hospitality industry. On paper, it looks like a simple cycle. Buy cheap alcohol, sell expensive status, and repeat until rich. Studio 54 embodied this perceived invincibility in 1977. The massive lines outside were physical evidence of a business that completely captured the city's demand. Reports from the era suggested the venue was generating millions in revenue. To any observer on the dance floor, the operation looked financially untouchable. That success ended abruptly with sudden federal raids and tax evasion charges. Despite the record-breaking revenue, the internal structure of the business was too compromised to survive legal and regulatory scrutiny. The line outside proves that people want to be in the room, but it offers no insight into the health of the underlying business model. Popularity and durability are entirely separate metrics. A nightclub functions as a market for status, density, and relevance. While customers pay for drinks, they are purchasing the feeling that their night matters more inside that specific room than anywhere else in the city. This floor plan shows how a club monetizes social instincts through hierarchy. General admission buys access. The bar area generates revenue from speed. The most expensive tables are positioned in the center, selling visibility and social theater. Adding the structural layers to this 3D model reveals the hidden costs. A room packed with hundreds of people requires industrial HVAC systems, acoustic treatments, reinforced restrooms, and specialized lighting controls just to survive a standard weekend. Building this environment requires massive front-loaded capital. Before a single customer enters, the owner must sink millions into the physical infrastructure of the space. Licensing adds another layer of financial risk. In many markets, acquiring a liquor license is a multi-year political process, involving zoning boards, police reviews, and public hearings that can cost hundreds of thousands of dollars before opening night. By the time the grand opening arrives, the owner has spent millions to create a zone of controlled chaos inside someone else's building. Opening night brings in a surge of revenue, but those funds immediately begin to dissipate through operational costs that are unique to nightlife. Leakage at the bar is a constant drain on profits. In a high-speed, dark environment, inventory is lost to spilled product, overpouring, and staff giving away free drinks to friends during the rush. Labor costs are concentrated into a few intense hours where mistakes are expensive. Managers, security, and bartenders must operate with absolute precision in a high-pressure, low-visibility environment to maintain the crowd spend. The crowd itself often contains a high percentage of comps, guests who receive free entry, drinks, and tables to improve the room's aesthetic. These patrons act as subsidized atmosphere, meant to entice high rollers into spending. Most clubs do not own their audience. They rent it from outside promoters. If a rival venue offers better terms, those promoters can redirect the crowd overnight, leaving the original owner with an empty room and high fixed costs. High occupancy is often a financial mirage. A room can be full of people drinking for free, creating the appearance of success, while the actual yield per guest remains dangerously low. Nightclubs face a cultural expiration date. A room that feels elite and urgent in its first year can feel dated and familiar by year 3, and familiarity is a liability in a business built on exclusivity. Demand in nightlife is reflexive. Customers pay a premium because they believe other desirable people will be present. Once that perception weakens, the crowd moves in unison to a newer venue, often without warning. This chart shows how a 20% revenue drop from softening VIP demand leaves fixed costs, rent, insurance, debt, completely unchanged. Profit instantly collapses to zero. Owners respond by spending more on emergency marketing, pushing total expenses above revenue and turning profit negative. Seasonality, economic shifts, and the constant threat of liability lawsuits add further pressure. In major markets like Las Vegas, venues are routinely gutted and rebranded after a few years because the cultural product ages faster than the building. Nightclub ownership is a highly expensive, temporary lease on the city's attention. The moment that attention shifts, the the social illusion breaks, leaving the owner with a mountain of debt and an empty room.